Welcome to this lecture on human rights and economic cooperation in Europe. And now we are going to look into how and in what way and through the use of what legal instruments privacy became part of the European Union laws. But first I need to explain to you what the difference is between a regulation, the treaty, a recommendation or a directive. So let me try and do that first. Of course, the highest level, the highest legal level is the treaty between the countries. On the second level we find so-called regulations, and as a very special property of this is that the member states do not have any choice of implementation. It's these texts, namely the text in the treaty, the text in the regulation, that is the text, the guiding text, the legal applicable text for the whole of the European Union, for all those countries which are part of the European Union. But then, sometimes, the member states get a choice of implementation. They may namely decide for themselves how they are going to use the directive. The result needs to get into national rules. So the result is, let's say, mandatory for the country, but not the wording. They may choose their own legal levels of in what way they want to do that. And of course, sometimes the European Union also uses recommendations to how to read a directive and sometimes even how to read a regulation. When we apply this system to the privacy environment, then you will see that there is the EU Treaty in Lisbon, that's the last one in 2009. Then of course, almost world famous by now, the regulation, namely the General Data Protection Regulation of 2016, that came into force on May 25th in 2018. Then, for instance, an example is the directive on e-privacy, which came into being in 2002, and there's a proposal in the European institutions now to make that a regulation also, and then of course there's recommendations. Okay, when we go to EU law, economic cooperation law and privacy, then you can see that data protection was already regulated for the first time in 1995 with the Data Protection Directive. And then they decided that because of the the technological developments and the becoming of more telecommunications operators and internet providers and things like that, they also needed special laws for the telecommunications and electronic communications environment. So in 2002, a special e-privacy directive came into being. But between 2002 and let's say 2012, 13, it became apparent that new rules, because of the incredible growth of the usage of internet on mobile devices also, that there was a need to make adaptations to the original directive on privacy out of 1995. So that became the General Data Protection Regulation, and that, as I told you, came into being in 2016 and started to work and came into force in 2018. Just to show you the different enactments, the privacy enactments as we have seen within the European Union. First of all, there's the Privacy Directive of 1995, and you can here see the title and everything so that you can find them easily either on the internet or within our references. The second one is the e-privacy directive. As I told you already, it's under scrutiny right now. It's being proposed to make it a new regulation, also as with the original privacy directive of 1995. But there is still negotiations going on what should be part of the e-privacy regulation, so the new one. There's not a new one yet. And then of course there's the GDPR, the 2016 General Data Protection Regulation. We will come back to that for sure over the next modules. Okay, then looking back at this module, I hope that you understand a bit more on the legal fundamentals in the European privacy protection, also how privacy protection came into being, and in what way human rights play a role, let's say, in the background of making rules, new rules for privacy protection. So this concludes this module. The next module will deal with the European legal system. Thank you for watching.